Hey, I'm new to this video thing. I wanted to make one, and I'm still learning as I'm writing this. I finished the script, and I literally forgot to write in an intro. Today, I'm talking about a show that I love, The Owl House, and we're skipping straight to the newest episode as of this being recorded, which is called Enchanting Gromfright. But first, I'm going to do a quick breakdown of the important characters as it is the 16th episode. So, if you don't know about the episode, don't watch. I recommend you watch the show, but I still should introduce the characters. The first character we're going to be breaking down is Luce, because she is the protagonist of the show. She was transported to the Boiling Isles, the realm the show takes place in. She's the only human in the show as of this episode, and she's overly confident, very naive, and a pretty nice person, but she's also weird, or at least in the human realm. I can relate to that. Her not fitting in is actually what leads her to the Boiling Isles. Her mother sends her off to summer camp, but then she literally runs into the Boiling Isles. So, yeah, her weirdness is literally what leads her there. She's training to be a witch and has a very cool form of magic in the form of glyphs. This is unique to her, and nobody else does this. Why does nobody else do this? Is because they just draw a circle in the air to cast the spell they desire. Luz can't do this because the anatomies between humans and the species that usually cast magic, called witchlings, I believe, the anatomy actually enables them to do magic, which I seem pretty cool. In my opinion, she is one of the best Disney cartoon protagonists we have seen, but that's a conversation for another day. Ida is another awesome character, and it's also one of my favorites. I don't think there's a character in this show that I don't like, but I digress. But she's another awesome character and is proclaimed as one of the most powerful witches in the Boiling Isles. She's wanted by the government there for a bounty of 1 trillion snails, which is their currency. She's very confident, and who wouldn't be when you're called one of the most powerful witches and have a $1 trillion bounty. She's also extremely sassy and hates authority. If it's a law, she's probably going to break it if she hasn't already. King is the second character we are introduced to in this episode. King, short for King of Demons, is one of my favorite characters in the show. He's a cute little guy and is perfectly voiced by Alex Hirsch, who voiced people like Dipper, Zeus, and Uncle Stan in Gravity Falls. If you've heard him before, you will definitely recognize his voice. He has an everlasting thirst of power. He apparently used to be a king of demons, but I think that's just, I don't know. We've never been shown any details other than just the legend that he may or may not have made up. But his everlasting thirst for power is hilarious and just makes me love his character. Amity is very bright and competitive. In her eyes, it's either first or last, and being one of the most powerful witches in the school that Luce goes to, who wouldn't want to be the best, always. But she has a more sensitive side explored in the later episodes, and especially this episode. Willow and Gus are some of Luce's friends. They're not exactly, important characters in this episode, but I feel like they still should be brought up. Willow is very friendly, and Gus is young, enthusiastic, and very good at magic for his young age. With the characters established, we can finally get into breaking the plot down. The episode begins with Luz learning a new glyph. There are 3 glyphs at this point in the show: light, ice, and this one, a plant one. King is watching YouTube. Yes, it's actually established as YouTube. I know, super meta. While Ida is in the Earth realm, presumably getting human items to sell, as that's a business she runs. This is when one of the many problems in this episode comes up. You see, Luce's mother thinks she's actually at a summer camp that she was about to send her to before she ran into the Boiling Isles. She doesn't know that she is in the Boiling Isles. And Luce is worried about lying to her and making her mad, so for right now, she just sends a thumbs up and says it's going good. King says that it's the right idea to keep it away from her because it might terrify her. Luce agrees, but I actually, in my opinion, I don't think it is. I mean, she's going to have to come clean at some point. Then Hootie, the sentient door knocker, introduces Willow and Gus. Willow and Gus are here to pick Luz up so she can go to school, which transitions us to the next scene. In this scene, we are introduced to the basics of the plot for this episode. Grom. Obviously, this show's version of prom. I love the way we learn of this through a stupid, flashy proposal. This dude takes out a literal beating heart, like, what? After that, Luxa talks about how she was kicked out of her last school dance for dressing like an otter, and is excited about potentially being Grom Queen. However, Willow says that's an honor that she doesn't want. Before she can explain why, Iridium... Iridium Blight. I had to make the Borderlands joke. Her last name, Amity's last name is Blight, and there's a location in Borderlands named Iridium Blight. So I just had to make the joke. Amity walks around the corner and runs into Luz. She drops her stuff, including a mysterious note that she didn't want to share, claiming it's private. Immediately after that, Grom Queen is awarded to Amity. Luz congratulates her, being oblivious to the amount of trouble this brings to Amity, and she runs away, either out of fear or embarrassment. Or both, probably both. We then cut to the next scene, where Luz learns why being Grom Queen isn't good. She hits a button where the floor opens and walls with weapons on them comes up out of the floor. Amity comes out of the stands and begins explaining why Grom Queen is bad. I like the way she explains this, though. She uses a spell to visually represent to the audience how Grom is handled, which I just think is really cool, and I feel like they should do more often later in the show. It's kind of like the book from Teen Titans Go, and I hate comparing this show to that dumpster fire of Teen Titans Go, but the book that Raven has is a extremely good plot device. I know, I hate admitting that. Grom, short for Prometheus the Fearbringer, is a monster that can read your mind and manifest into your biggest fear, which you have to fight. I can relate to how Amity is feeling. Having to fight your biggest fear, I probably wouldn't be able to do that. Amity says her fear is embarrassing, hence why she doesn't want to face Grom in front of the school. Luz recommends talking to the principal to potentially get out of facing Grom. Lumity. That's the ship name, not... Amity takes this advice, but I have a feeling that she knew it wouldn't work. Spoilers, it didn't. Okay, it did not work. The next scene cuts to Ida and King freshening up to also go to Grom. Ida is chaperoning while King is going to commentate the fight against Grom alongside Gus. Luz tells them that Amity is the Grom Queen and that she's kind of freaking out about it, but that she wishes that she could replace them, which Ida and King understandably doubt Luz's abilities and laugh at her about claiming that she could even replace Amity. Which, I mean, again, is understandable. I mean, Luz hasn't really fought anything of the caliber of Grom. At least we believe that so far. We don't really know what Grom is like yet because we haven't encountered it. But I mean, they doubt that she can fight it, which is understandable. But Luz stands her ground and is confident that she can do it, which is surprising because that's just her nature and her personality. Ida says there's a spider in Luz's hair, but Luz doesn't believe her. She thinks she's just trying to play a trick on her. Why did I do that? But there actually is a spider in her hair. We then cut to Luz angrily walking through the woods because of what Ida and King said, claiming how she isn't fragile and that she's a bad boy. Her words, not mine. Immediately contradicting what she just said, she hears mysterious footsteps. She picks up a stick and attacks the thing walking, that thing coincidentally being Amity. She's walking in the woods because she's sad about the fact that Principal said no and that she still has to fight Grom unless somebody wants to take her place. Because she's one of the most powerful witches in the school, she understandably doubts that anyone will want to replace her. Luce immediately volunteers, claiming that she is a fearless champion, before being scared at a spider in her hair immediately mentioned in the last scene. In the next scene, Luz is picking out an outfit for Grom when she gets another text from her mother. This brings back the feeling of worry that she had about making her mad and lying to her mother. Hootie says that there is a guest for Luz, that guest being Amity. She mentions how if Hootie talks to her again, she will destroy him. Luz then talks to Amity about the choices for the outfit she has.
This one says witch with a dark side. But this one says I'm an otter with a dark side.
Sorry, I love that scene. Amity then talks to her that she needs to take this more seriously and that if she does not successfully destroy Grom, that everyone on the island will have to face their biggest fear. Luz starts training for Grom by telling Amity and her older siblings what her biggest fears are. She tells them surface level fears like talking to neckbeards, humans, and cat bodies, or how she has a fear of milk because she's lactose intolerant. Amity recognizes that these aren't deep fears, asks Luz what her real fear is. She says her biggest fear is that Ida thinks she's too fragile, and if Ida's right, then she will never be a real witch. Ida then finds out what they're doing and makes a few comments of how Luz shouldn't be fighting Grom. But at this point, they're out of time, and we go to the Grom scenes, which the best part. We're getting the best part. In this scene, we are introduced to what a Grom dance looks like. Some sentient instruments are playing music, and we see some couples dancing. And we get some sweet representation of the LGBT community, which is always nice and is great to see how they're getting more representation in mainstream cartoons. The show then pans over to Ida. King walks over to her and asks why she's so nervous. She explains more how she's worried about Luz and doesn't think Luz is ready to fight Grom, and how the potential how she's going to have to save her. A little later, and Gus is commentating on the stage and getting applause. King makes a comment about how he's really good about it and wonders if his material is at the same level. Ada tells him that he isn't good enough, he will be embarrassed, and how that embarrassment can stick with you for years. The show then goes to Amity walking out of the gym, holding the note from earlier in the episode. She quickly puts it away when Luz walks around the corner. Luz says how she's nervous about fighting Grom. She's wearing a new outfit, and Amity makes a comment about how it's weird, but she likes it, and I like it too. Definitely weird, but she rocks it. She also compliments about how brave Luz is and how Luz has done things that Amity claims she could never do. Luz replies, doubting, saying, she could do this. She could easily do it. Then she walks away to go fight Grom, asking for Amity to wish her luck. Amity does so, but very nervously. Then the Grom fight begins. Luz walks into the gym and Gus introduces her to the crowd. She grabs a flail off the wall of weapons from earlier. Yes, I had to Google that. She sticks a piece of paper with the ice glyph on it and uses it to launch the 3 cats from earlier. Gus then gives the mic to King, who chokes and gets stage fright and runs off, Eminem style. Gus then runs after him. Luz then defeats the second wave, being the neckbeard from earlier. Grom then turns to Demon, which is the same demon from an earlier episode that Ida turns into because she has a curse. It sucks explaining this stuff because that's the one of the curses from starting on the 16th episode. Get it? Curse. I thought, maybe Ida being disappointed is her biggest fear, unlike my prediction. Then Grom reads Luce's mind and finds her real biggest fear, which is my prediction. I know I'm the best. Her biggest fear is her mother figuring out where she's been and what she's been doing, and her being mad. I can relate. Making a Mexican woman mad is one of the most terrifying things I have ever seen. Grom turns into her mother and starts asking questions. What is this place? What have you been doing? And have you been lying to me? As it turns into a bigger monster. The show cuts to Gus and King talking outside of the gym. Gus says you need to face your fear just like Luz is doing.
I can't do it! I can't face my fear!
Why are you running loose?
She's running away from the monster version of her mother. The crowd walks around the corner concerned that Grom escaped. Gus encourages King to talk to them, and he does and gets their hopes back up. Then they all follow them. Edith and Amity are behind them, concerned about Luz. Luz continues to run through the woods away from Grom, saying how she wasn't ready and that she gives up the throne. She runs to a cliff, and Ida comes out of nowhere and shoots a spell at Grom. Luz says to Ida that she was right the whole time and she wasn't ready. Ida says it's okay and prepares to shoot another spell before Amity comes out of the trees for help. She says that she should have fought her own fight before being picked up by Grom. Grom then reads Amity's mind and becomes her fear. That fear being rejected by whoever she wanted to ask out to Grom. Grom shrinks down to a normal size, grabs the note out of Amity's pocket, rips and crumbles it up. Amity picks up one of the pieces and sadness. Luz runs up to grab the other and sees that her fear was being denied. She then offers to go to Grom with Amity. Amity accepts her offer.
Ooh. Well then, if that's settled, may I have this dance?
I'm going to let you watch this scene in its entirety. Then I'm going to gush about it for the next 5 minutes. Yep. That's what I'm going to do. That is what I'm going to do. I need a life.
So, who did you want to ask out? Oh, it's not important.
And there you have it, folks.
Oh my god! This scene is so good. Okay, first of all, the animation. It is so smooth. It looks so good. The animators for this show did a spectacular job on not only this scene but the whole show. But in this scene, it shows more than anything. And the second thing I'm going to be talking about is the magic. The way they use Luz and Amity's magic together like that, it's so cool. Like her putting the glyph and growing a tree out of Grom. That's sick, bro. And the music, bro, the music pops. It pops. Oh god. I mean, you get my point. I'm a bit of a music nerd. I mean, I play the trombone and the guitar, so I really like music. So it's just this literally it's music to my ears. It's literally music to my ears, bro. It's so good. Like holy crap. I mean, have you watched a Disney cartoon with a bad soundtrack? No, you haven't. You're lying. But But this score is fantastic and sticks out more than the rest. Because I mean, the whole show is amazing. I mean, every Disney cartoon score is amazing, but this sticks out the most to me. So after Grom explodes and becomes a giant tree, which is awesome, dude. The tree looks so pretty, and it's awesome that Luz is becoming really strong at magic. But I'm going on a tangent. So after they defeat Grom, they get these crowns on their head, and they look really cool as well, dude. They look so good. I want to wear that crown. So then Luz asks who the person was that Amity wanted to ask out. Amity says, it's not important, even though it is, because when she throws the paper, it unfolds and reveals to be Luz. Taken from a guy who liked Star vs. the Force of Evil until the fourth season, ruined it all. But that's a topic for another day. But taken from a guy who loved Star, I'm kind of a fan of ships, as long as they don't overtake the actual story of this show, which is why I didn't like the fourth season of Star vs. the Force of Evil. But that's a topic for another day. So yeah, I'm kind of excited, as it's the only ship established in the show so far, actually officially established. I mean, there is some people that want, Willow and Luz, but it's again, I shouldn't be talking about ships, but this is a plot breakdown. But it is kind of important and probably will be brought up a lot over the next 3 seasons, because it's probably going to be 4 seasons like every Disney cartoon is, except for Gravity Falls. Come on, Hirsch, what did you ended it to? After they get home, Lewis just wants to kind of be alone and go to bed. And we get a sweet joke from King.
Now I am king and queen! Best of both things!
God, I love King. She walks in her room and just sits on her windowsill and talks about how she couldn't actually face her mom and how she maybe is fragile. She then gets another text from her mother saying how her day was. And she doesn't hide it as much this time. I mean, she tells her that she's had a hard day, but that her friends helped her through it, and how she thinks her mother would like them. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I don't know how she would take demons and stuff like that, but they are, I mean, at least this point in the show, they are pretty good people. And she says, one day I'll tell you all about this. Her mom immediately texts back and saying that she loves receiving her letters. Liz takes this as just a cute way of saying text, but she's actually getting letters from an unknown source as of this point. Like, ooh, some sweet mystery at the end. And then we get a photo reel, which is kind of cool. Overall, I love this episode. Not just this episode, but the whole freaking show. I mean, I should have started watching this show earlier. I binged the entire show like right after this episode came out, and I don't know why. I felt inclined to write a video about it. I mean, of course I love this show. I mean, I wrote a 2,000 word essay about a single episode and recorded like 25 minutes of voiceover for it. So, I mean, and I'm not even done yet. I still have to edit it. So, yeah. So I guess it's the outro bit now. If this ever does get made and you actually are watching this, leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm new to this. I want to learn more, and constructive criticism is seriously appreciated. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe if you want to. I mean, you don't have to, but I would really appreciate it. Have an awesome day.